All right, welcome to another edition of our Thursday training. This is our evening session, and today we are very excited to have an incredible entrepreneur here in the city of Detroit. She is building brands on a daily basis along with her own brand, and we're excited to have her give us this presentation, Branding with Brooklyn.
Stop. Hello, you guys. So, welcome to Brandon with Brooklyn. Hello, Deuce. And thank you guys for being here. Today is not your typical branding workshop. We are talking about building community as not only like a personal brand, but a business. I know a few of you guys have businesses or want to start a business, and then we also have some personal brands in the room. So, with that being said, I'll be telling you guys a little bit of not only about my journey, but and how I built community, but also how I think you guys could build community as well. So I'll be doing like a little. This will kind of be like an interactive workshop since we are dealing with a smaller crowd, because I feel like the best way to pick up off certain energies is to like talk to other people in the room. So I think that is a big thing for me, and a lot of times where I've got my best advice, it was just simply from listening to other people. So yeah, I'm gonna ask you guys some questions, and then I'm also gonna piggyback off your answers, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of like my experience. I'm not here to be an expert today, just to tell you about some things that work for me because I am all around the same age as you guys, a young professional in the city of Detroit, trying to make my way. So I just want to show you guys that experience that I've had. So for starters, I think our first thing that would be best to meet each other is maybe y'all should come up a little bit right here. So y'all, it can be easy for y'all to see each other. But um our first thing will be us doing a workshop. So I want to hear like who you guys are, if you have a brand, if you are trying to start a personal brand, and then we're also going to talk about like because I think the biggest thing in community is knowing like who your target audience is and who you actually are trying to attract with your audience. So we're gonna start there, and then I'm going to add on to those questions once you give me a little bit of details about your brand. Would you like to start? Or you want her to start? Okay. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Deuce. Harris, would you like to go?
My name is Harris. I am mostly known for modeling marketing. My business is home parking, so private venues, stadiums, weddings, things like that. Currently working on establishing a direct brand, charging my audience, even though our two businesses are separate from me. I have a website marketing business, not involved predominantly in marketing, and more so parking. The overall vision is to eventually have my own owner, but as of right now, we want to create an environment that still is not venue only, but intersect.
You just telling who you are, and who do you feel like your target audience is, or like what do you do? If you have a business, if you have a personal brand, what does that look like, and who are you trying to target, and like what's your niche?
Okay. My name is Tiara Franklin. I'm actually just trying to get back in the field of modeling as well as branding myself. It's a clothing brand that I'm working on as well. So trying to really more of streetwear, which is I've always been on the where I have my own shoes and stuff like that. So it's like I want to kind of stick to what's best for me and what's already known.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I want to show that I can dress it.
Okay.
My name is Tanisha. I think a lot of people talk about like my art creativity. Right now, as far as branding myself, um, I'm working. Well, I got into fashion design, so I want to learn how to blend that too, and also brand myself as a model and also brand that too. Um, so yeah, that's about it. I'm very outgoing. I have a very flow personality. I think sometimes the struggle we had with learning how to control it. But other than that, yeah.
Okay, great. So we got everybody's like niches and like what exactly you guys do. So of course some are like further along than others on like knowing exactly what that brand is. I know for my models that are usually typically participate in my fashion shows, if you guys don't have a personal brand already, that is what we're trying to teach you to build, not only here, but just like when we talk to you guys at our events or at practice and things like that, we are trying to build you guys. I know sometimes like y'all might be like, what are y'all talking about? But most of the times, like it's always a method to our madness when you guys step into our space. It's very important for you to start looking at what you want to get out of the spaces that you step into, because I think a lot of times as young professionals, we're just like doing things, but we don't have any intentions by it. Like we're modeling, we're doing henna or whatever the case may be. We're doing mobile bartending, but we're not really figuring out where we're trying to go. And I think that's what makes my story a little bit different from everybody else's, because I have like this organized chaos. So like although I don't necessarily have intentions, you don't have to necessarily have intentions on what you want to do from A to Z, right? But your intention could be to eventually own a certain type of business, or your intentions can be to go into a different type of lane. Intentions matter instead of just shooting blanks, because I think that's a lot of times what we are doing as young professionals. We're not really making sure our steps are worthwhile. So that's what, of course, I've always been telling the models and now telling business owners. My job is to put you guys in a space where y'all understand where y'all want to go, because maybe today you're not ready to build community, right? But you're just trying to figure out who you are, or like what your brand may look like, or who your target audience is, because I think the first step to building community is knowing who you're trying to target. And I think in a lot of you guys' responses, I don't hear a strict target audience. And that's what will put you in the space of the unknown. I think like when you're trying to market to something, or you're trying to gravitate towards a certain audience, how do you gravitate towards them if you don't even know who you want to be looking at you? I think what you said, Kiara, is a good step in the right direction. Although you don't necessarily know who your target audience is, you knew that somebody, you're known for something. Like, exactly. So like in your space, somebody may always talk about how you have on different type of shoes or what you wear and things like that. And believe it or not, before I was a business owner, I was just a cute girl on social media where people gravitated towards me by certain things that I just put on the internet. So for me, when I was younger, I've been on the internet since I was 12. When I was on the internet at first, I was just known for my hair. My mom does hair, and everybody would always say, Brooke, you always get your hair done. You get your hair done every single week. Like, and that became my thing. Whether that was in school, whether that was on the internet, everybody know me for having the different hairstyles, my hair always being laid, and then I always I was always into different type of fashion. Mind you, I just am now getting into fashion within the last 5 years. That's not nothing that I just knew since. You know how people be lying saying like they was into fashion since they was 2. That's not me. Like, I just figured this out, and it was something I wanted to try, and it just eventually ended up working. So like I said, telling you guys a little bit about my journey. I started on social media, and that was my thing. It was the fashion lane just by me and my internet presence, and then also my hair. So that's what you can say that I was basically known as. And then of course you put your life on social media, but like, what much do you have to say at 12? Like, all I could show is the things that I did, but also put in even like, this is more like different now that we can choose the spaces that we go into as adults. But when I was a child, I was in PAL. Like, I used to cheer in PAL. That's a big thing in the city of Detroit. If you grew up in the city of Detroit, you know about PAL. I cheered in PAL, and then I went to the schools that were popular. I went to UPSM for middle school. I went to Cass Tech for high school. I went to U Prep for elementary. So I've always been in the right spaces. At the right times, I would say, and I capitalized off of those moments. People always talk about like the popular girls in school and things like that. Those, you kind of realize as an adult how like being known for something helps you out in your adulthood. And it's so funny that we used to think it was so trivial when we was a kid, like if you was the popular kid in school, or if people known you for this reason, but then when you become an adult and you want to hold some type of substance in the world, those are the things that matter. Like, it really does matter. And that just followed on throughout since I was in school, and then when I got to Cass, it was like a total different atmosphere. That kind of I started to gravitate towards. I went to a school that was really big on entrepreneurship and like just making you feel like you had to do something. Like, even we were the school that had like majors. Well, they were called curriculums. Yeah, so I had the communications curriculum. One thing about me that you'll probably even know, like just by being around me and things like that, I'm not really, well, I feel like I'm extroverted, but I'm also very introverted. If you see me in a room and I'm doing business, I'm very quiet, and I'm pretty much typically like sitting back, scoping the scene out. But like being in school and like having those speech classes and things like that, that also was a big part of my journey because it taught me how to speak. Although I'm not the best at it still, but just being in those situations also capitalize off of things. And then also, like, with us being an entrepreneurship-based school, we started doing pop-up shops for young adults of all, so everybody in the school sold something, whether it was cheesecake, whether it was lip gloss, it was anything. And that's when I got my first taste of entrepreneurship in high school. I was in the 10th grade, and I started selling lip gloss. And from that point forward, I just knew, like, I not only maximized off of my social media presence and the brand that I had already like built, because it was known for me to like something like this girly would be like, it fits, it fits me and who I have been portraying myself to be. Well, not portraying, but you get what I'm saying, like coming off into the world to be at this time. So I started selling lip gloss. I'm going to the pop-up shops. I know everybody at school, but like now I'm starting to like little by little, like, make my network. It's people that I still mess with to this day that like were like core parts in my journey when I first started, like especially like in the beauty scene and things like that. If you want to get into beauty and modeling and things, because at one point I said that I was a model. Like, and that was never the case. Like, you know, but I utilized those connections to capitalize and build my network. So even when you don't think that there's intention behind the things you're doing, you just have to be knowing, like, you know, where you're at and being in the right space. Um, like even when I was younger and things like that in high school, like I met CDK. I don't know if you guys know CDK. If you walked in my show, you probably know her. But she's a brand owner, right? And she did fashion shows. And so I will always model for her and things like that. And then Shay Baby, if you know Shay Baby, the makeup artist in Detroit, that was my first little taste into like, you know, getting a makeup artist connections and things like that. Like, you know, utilizing those little pieces that you don't even think are pieces in your journey to maximize in the past. So every time you step up, you're utilizing those little, you know, not saying they're little, but you know what I'm saying, like people that you've come in contact along the way, and then you start collecting them like rocks. And then as time goes on, you're starting to build this ecosystem of people that support you, just by simply being kind or continuing to tell your story, or for them to continue to even watch your journey. I finished high school. I started doing clothing, and then I met people during the clothing. Clothing is what really was my claim to fame. Well, hair was before that, but then that connected because my mom does hair salon. Y'all get it. But even then, I started connecting with more people then, and now people know how I do business. And now I'm doing more photo shoots, and now I'm doing more, like, you know, marketing. At this point, I'm still not necessarily marketing my brand the way that I'm supposed to, but it's getting a little bit, each time I'm like sprinkling little, you know, getting a little bit better than the last time that I showed up. Then I do clothing, and clothing was what really blew it out the water. I'm doing, you know, my photo shoots, that goes viral. And that's where I collected the first few models, you know, that I had. And those are the people that advocated for me. And then I built a brand, you know, and it kept going and things like that, especially for you being a clothing brand owner. I think you should utilize, like, I think everybody is caught up in this, like, stinginess of, like, oh, I don't want to do nothing for free. Or, oh, I'm too good to, like, you know, to be in this space of, like, giving away my talents. And yeah, and everything that I did, and I still to this day do things for free just off of the possibility of a new connection. We really have that bad in this generation. I feel like it's like you always want something, and maybe you're not even showing up properly. We tell y'all models that all the time, like, and y'all can vouch. Like, stop showing up in places and we're not ready to be in those spaces, and somebody's trying to give you an opportunity, and it might be beneficial, but your ego lets you just get walked right out the door. Like, if you know of influencer that may be beneficial to your henna business, and you think that she might take, you know, and they might promote you the way you need to be promoted, why not? You know, it takes nothing out of you to give you know, to give your skills away, especially if it doesn't cost you anything. Now, I know for clothing brand owners, like, and being small business owners, because I've had little inventory before, but that's why you have to, once again, move with intention. You know, the models are going to be your biggest advocacy in the clothing brand. Like, where would I be if I didn't have those first few models that, like, you know, repped my brand? And then also giving people different experiences that they have not seen before. I always pride myself, and anybody that has been in my corner, in my vicinity, knows that I give a experience that you won't see too many other places. Like, for the models, you guys think it's so, like, y'all be so happy when I just buy y'all a box of pizza. Like, it's so little. Like, you know, stuff like that is so small to me, but it's so big to y'all. And then y'all go and tell everybody, like, Brooke treated us so well. All I gave y'all was pizza in the juice box. But to y'all, that's the best thing, you know, a person could have gave y'all. So it's just like, you know, the experience you give people is another way to build connections and build community and build audience. Now, I can't sit here and say that, you know, as a brand, that I've always been the most transparent and open, as far as, like, just putting my life on the internet. Like, it's a lot of people that don't know about my story still yet. I just started opening up about who I am, my age, and things like that. I think people just connected with me off of experiences. But imagine if I probably would have opened up a little bit more when I was 16 or 17 or whatever the case may be. Imagine if I would have opened up then. you guys are like very fresh in your entrepreneurship journey and your personal brand journey, as well as me. But like I've had like 9 cat lives at this point. But like it's still time for you to speak your story. You know, it's still time for you to gravitate towards an audience and be intentional with who you want to connect with. And I think that's the biggest thing is start speaking. You know, start going in rooms that you feel valued in, and start going places like now a person, if you would have talked to me 2 years ago, I would tell you like I'm not going nowhere. I only mess with my people. Like I'm not going nowhere that don't have nothing to do with me. Like it's if you mess with me, you mess with me. Like, and I'm not going to outsource. But imagine if I didn't outsource, I wouldn't have met Robert, or I wouldn't have met you know, your pronunciation get me every time. But I wouldn't have met these different people, you know, and they wouldn't have been such a big pivotal part of my journey. And I think that's a very big thing to take into consideration. Just going in spaces that value you, going in spaces that like you know put you in other opportunities, in rooms, and then like even at the fashion shows when the models when y'all walking, like walk around and talk to people like the henna artist or the clothing brand the clothing brand, because you never know what opportunities you can get out of that. And the same with business owners. Go talk to the models or go talk to other brand owners, because it's been so many collaborations that come from those spaces, and that's how you build ecosystem. That's how you build your community. You know, even if not saying that you got to have it all figured out, but if you have people that's willing to just jump on board. I think I used to value like when you first start entrepreneurship, you like be happy that people acknowledge you, you know, like you be happy that like, oh, people say your name, or like, you know, people know you in rooms that you may not be in. I think the biggest like thing that I've started to become so grateful for is the fact that like I can call on people to do things, you know, or I have resources and I don't have to go search no more. If I need a venue, I could call Robert. Or if I need a this, I could call this person. Like if I need henna, I could call her. If I need a clothing brand to get in the fashion show real quick, I could call them up because of the ecosystem I created. And that's when you know that your network is your net worth. By being able to utilize the people that you have collected, like along the way. So, with that being said, a little bit less about me, but more so about you guys. I want to know like what are you doing on a daily basis to build community? And if you are not doing that right now, what is something that you're going to do after this workshop to start, you know, building community? And if you like Deuce, he has a personal brand, right? But he doesn't necessarily know exactly what like his personal brand consists of all the way, right? But he has a message that he wants to get out to the world. And that's all you really need. You just need that one focal point that you care about that much, and you have to spread it out in whatever way that looks like. So, in with that being the case, and even like your story is something so crazy to tell, like you know, just with knowing you, and then also your growth over even the past few months. I've been knowing you maybe a year now. Just even like your story needs to be heard because it's low key wild. Like, like I think people would really benefit from the message that you just said today. You know, and with not even knowing that, you know. But if you was to put your story behind that, it'll all make sense. Because I know nobody in this room even probably understood what you were trying to say when you said it, but I understand because I know you and I know what you've been through. So just speaking your story. But I kind of want to know from you guys, what are you guys doing to build community, or if not, what after this workshop will you do to build community? You first? Yes.
To be honest, I think I'm very open to just being in these spaces, as you said. This is like
Yeah.
how we first met.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as community, I really don't know how. I guess I do know how I can move forward, and I would say just as kind of see those vibes. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that there's anything that I'm naturally doing. I think oftentimes my clients just like reach out to me
Mhm.
and give a scope of what we're going for, and then
Yeah.
move on, you know. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that
Yeah, and I think I struggle with that as well. Like, but I just do it on a grander, like a little grander scale. Because even with the fashion shows, I was just talking to Robert, and he was telling me like the way you could connect with people is through email or like different things, and all we do is like rely on social media. So a lot of the people that are watching us are not even necessarily connected with us because we haven't connected with them. Like the only way we reach out to them is like if it's time to do something again, instead of keeping them involved in our like everyday loop. I think that is a big thing, because you come in contact, especially with you doing weddings. Who knows how many people that is? That's a lot of different people, but you're just kind of letting them go to the wayside unless they contact you back. What if we put in an initiative to follow up with them? Like, I'm not gonna lose you. And that's kind of what we do with our vendors and our designers for the fashion show. We just don't do it at the grand like scheme of what we need to. Like, we kind of have made relationships just off of like the way we treat them when they get in our space. But we want to make it like, I think the biggest thing is to become so undeniable that you can like sell anything to anybody. Like, I should be able to post a fashion show and ask for vendors and designers, and within the first 7 days of it being open, we're filled. Like, I think that's what community is. That's what like advocacy is, and that's when you know that you have made it to a point where you no longer, have to go and search or grind so hard to complete a mission. Yeah, I think like you have a lot of opportunity within connecting with so many people to connect with your target audience on a daily basis, or keeping them in your loop, like Rob said, with email blast or text message blast or a community group. Like, I even, well, you are doing something on a daily basis, because I heard from a little birdie that you in a henna group with uh yes, I know that you in the henna group with other henna artists. That's a form of community. Although it's like you feel like it's probably not your community, like something that you built, but it's still something that you're actively in, building community. So I did know that about you. So
Well, for me, community has been my whole life. My mother is well known in
hmm
my community. She's cooked my entire life, over 35 years of having starting off with creating a business and then going on to having a food truck. And so, those people primarily came people from our religious community, from our masses and stuff
hmm
like that, and then extending on to out of state and stuff like that, just from her personality. So I guess my community is my close community.
hmm
But on an individual basis, that was like going to on campus at my school, as well as different jobs that I've had and connecting with like other people I've met through
yeah.
business.
And I don't think like the community thing, I we don't have to look so deep into like what we're actually doing, like in our personal brand or our like with our business, to find community. Like, community is anywhere. Like, it's so many people that support you that may not like necessarily be in this ecosystem that you're trying to build right here, but like it's somebody that you can call on for something. Like, I've worked at the city council building before, I've worked at MGM before, and those people are people that I could still call on to this day, and those are jobs, and they still will give me a resource or an extra hand if I needed it. So don't think of community as like just as like, if it's not the community that we're trying to build for our business or our personal brand, that is not community, because jobs are community as well too. Great coworkers, great aunties and uncles, that's community. Anybody that supports you on a daily basis is community. Deuce, that's your time, sis John.
Oh, I thought you was all right.
No. I'm
I think I just gotta go back to the drawing board as far as self. See what I need to do to be more effective, because the message I'm pushing is not about being right or wrong. It's about being effective. So to see how I can continue to do it, because I do it every day. And the message overall is better self, a higher self, and how to make it, incorrect. So with that being said,
Yeah. And I think we don't have to keep up with our community every single day. Like that's a lot to ask, especially with like life going on and things like that. I think if people genuinely support you, they're ready for you. You know, it's never a thing of like you have to like these are people. These are not your kids. These are your allies. So like it doesn't have to be. I know people that I haven't talked to in years, but just based off the way that I treated them in the relationship that I grew, if you put in the work for a relationship in the beginning, like the foundation of it, it's just like with your clothing brand. If you put down the foundations or you like water the grass, then the flower eventually ends up growing, you know. But if in the beginning you kind of just like stumped on the mud and like you didn't you didn't water it, then you can't go back because there's nothing there for you to go back to. I think the biggest thing is when you meet these people, lock them in. It's just like if you find a girl that you want to talk to, like you know, soon you own her. Like soon as it happens, soon as you meet her, you trying to court her, you're trying to cater to her. It's the same thing with business relationships and trying to like you know, be in someone's space. And I know that at first when I started business, I was very timid in that. And I still can admit to being a business owner that I don't go searching for nobody. Like, and that's some, but I've also missed out on a lot of opportunities from being like that and saying like, oh, like I'm not gonna go over there or I'm not gonna do this or if I want to work with this person, they gotta come to me. But like, who are you? To like for somebody to like it's the entitlement we have to let go of, you know. And sometimes you're not ready to step out of your element of like stretching to go the extra mile. But I think like you know you don't have to keep up with them to the point where it almost kills you to like you know stay in that relationship. People that support you, as long as you water it in the beginning, in the end, it'll always be there. You know, just giving it a good like my models. I can have. I started doing fashion shows 4 years ago at this, maybe 5 years ago at this point, and I have models that was at my very first show, and I treated them well. I gave them a great experience, and then they might not come back until they might have not came back until this last show that I did on Sunday. Nothing happened with that relationship. You know, the relationship didn't shift within this 4 years of us not seeing each other. The love is still the same. The support is still the same. I just watered it in the beginning, so I don't have to worry about oh if they acting funny or whatever the case may be because I know what I did my part in the beginning. So don't put too much pressure on the relationship. Just make sure you're not letting it go in the beginning. Court it. Make sure it's a resource, and it doesn't have to be a thing where it feels like you. Because I know sometimes we also have this thing of feeling like we're using people, but like so what? Like honestly, as long as I think it's nothing wrong with using people around you if you're a benefit back to others. Like you can't be a person that wants resources, but you can't give a resource back. I think that's where the difference comes between somebody using someone and not.
I just want to chime in on Steve. Yeah, I feel that's the reason why we're here. Everyone, not just one business, the whole world. We all need each other for something. And so that being said, we all need each other for something. So we all need to use somebody for something. But it's a difference between using and misusing. That's a
Yeah,
big difference. So we all here naturally. It's okay though. We need each other. We
yeah.
all here to help.
And that's why you build community to be able to rely on people. Like you are supposed to rely on your village. You are supposed to be able to call on people. It doesn't matter if, as long as when they need you, you can come through. That's all that matters. It just has to be an equally yoked relationship. I don't think that it like, but like I said, don't put too much pressure on it because I think that's what makes us. That also makes it overwhelming to the point you don't like follow through with those relationships because you're too busy thinking about well I can't keep up with this or I don't you know I don't know how to deal with this or I don't know how to manage this. It's not that like we don't go with these people. We simply are business partners and allies. I you're not like they're not entitled to like your emotions or anything like super serious, you know. So just don't put too much pressure on it when it's time to like you know utilize people.
then I had my own room with my associates when I opened my business. So it's like I done been in so many rooms with people where like I can have a vision, but I don't have the business mindset of it.
Yeah.
Or I didn't have the business mindset of it, and I got robbed from it.
I
So
think,
now I feel like when I was me, I overthink and I feel like I overshare. So now it's like I don't
yeah,
even want to share my ideas because I'm put into the space now where it's like I overthink everything.
yeah. I think,
Yeah,
I
like
think
it's just
too,
like I don't
I
even
like
trust. Like it's hard to trust.
one thing about me, and I think this is why I've gotten very far, is I don't care what you steal from me. Like, like I've never been a person like, so what? You cannot execute it like me on any level. And like
And that's true.
you
It was nothing. It was even though like I gave them my vision and idea, it did not turn on nothing
so
out.
why are you sweating it though? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so what? If you, but that's where we have to go back and look at ourselves in the mirror and be like, am I secure enough in my position to know that there's no one out here that's providing what I provide? I think once I got over the fact that people are just thieves, like I was so much better. I do so much better. Like you scared to share about something, and it's just going back to the point when I got my first grant, right? And I didn't. I told my mom like I'm not in the mood. Like I didn't get to walk across the stage. I didn't get to go to prom. I don't feel like talking to nobody. Give me my scholarship and let's go. And she kept telling me. She said, Brooklyn, you never know who you in the room with. Share your story. Share your story and don't be afraid of who's watching you. I'll go and sit down with a man, and he happens to be the president of a bank, right? And soon as I told him my vision, he gave me $10,000. I didn't have to sell it. I didn't have to do nothing. I just walked in and I said my piece, and he gave me the money. And then I went and doubled that, and I went back and I got more money from him. Like, but imagine if I was scared to speak, or what if I thought that he was gonna steal my idea? Who cares? So what? Like, it's millions of ideas out here that's doing the same thing. Nobody is different from the other. I'm not the first person that threw fashion shows, and I'm not the first one that made a clothing brand that targets young women. You're not the first person, and you won't be the last person. Don't let people trick you out your spot, because all you doing is allowing people to discourage you, and you're going to be sitting and they going to be riding off into the sunset with your idea because you think that since somebody took something from you, that means that everybody is trying to rob you. Like, it's so many situations that I've been in, and like even like talking to Rob and like getting a mentor and things like that, you start to realize that like people low key, like everything, people issues have nothing to do with you, but and everything to do with themselves. And like I'm still learning that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm still young and I'm still petty. And I don't like, for real. And I know that everybody thinks that I walk around like as if I have it together, but it's like I still think the same thoughts that y'all do. I'm still like, if you still come with me with that energy, I'm coming right back at you. Don't think you above the program, and don't think that I'm above it either. So it's just like, like realizing that you're gonna run into so many issues in business that like just is supposed to strengthen your mind. But if you're not willing to like to be a in business, you have to be a lion. My mom always asks me, is you a wolf or is you a sheep? Like literally, and that's true. If you want to survive and last, so what? Why do you care about people stealing? Why do you care about somebody taking your idea and running with it? Why do you care if people acting funny to you and they misusing you? Now it's so many situations that I've been in business, and it's only made me wiser. Like, I've only got to this point right now because every situation you just have to be. I think the biggest thing is to hold yourself accountable in situations. Like, if you're not accountable, you can't grow. And one thing about me is I'm a great listener. I'm always gonna listen to what people are telling me and like pour into myself. Because a lot of things that we miss, it's like, okay, if you was oversharing in this room, like, what are you gonna do better the next time? Like, I used to get caught up so much. Like, I remember my mom used to tell me, like, documentation beats conversation. That was a big thing, like, that I struggled with when I was younger doing business. I was always going off my own word, and people always lying. Y'all know people be lying. And I used to always get caught up in other people's lies and be like, well, I said this, I told them that. And my mom like, well, did you write it down? Did you make them sign it? Did you make them this? And that's why all of y'all models got NDAs and all this other stuff for the fashion shows, because I learned from my mistakes. And if you're not learning from your mistake, if you allowing your mistakes to trump you and make you feel small, you're not doing it right, and you're not thinking in the right headspace. This should be your opportunity to not think about how people are misusing you. How can you be so undeniable and think about why people like, oh dang, I'm so big enough they decided to steal my idea. Like, people that's rich don't care that you copying them. So what? They're not thinking about that. But that's because they have so much value. They add so much value to this world. They can't fathom to think about who's doing what they're doing. It's so many other fashion shows in Detroit. You think I'm thinking about like what they got going on? No, I don't care. It's a difference between you thinking about your competition and you're consuming yourself in other people's delusions. Like, it's not your business. Like, shake it off, let it go, and make you wiser. That's the only thing you can do in business and in life. If you're not taking your mistakes and making it make you better, and you making it make you not do stuff, you the only one losing in that situation. You the only one losing, because you still sitting on the idea that somebody went and stole, and because they stole it, now you don't want to do it. It's like, who's losing? It's you. You the only person.
It's crazy because it's like, no matter what I try to do, like not do it, it's like God keeps giving me different stuff. So
Well,
it's
you
like,
gotta pick one.
exactly. No, it's like different visions for like brands.
Okay.
So it's like now, okay, now what?
You just have to start. I think the biggest thing about people that, like, the difference between successful entrepreneurs and people that are not successful is you just didn't start. Like, it's so many people sitting on ideas and like literally sitting on $100,000 million ideas, but they just simply didn't do it. One thing about me, although this is also my downfall a little bit too, is that it don't matter how chaotic it is, I'm just gonna start it if I have the idea. That's why I've been sitting down and Rob been telling me like, well, maybe you need to pause on some of your ideas because it's running you ragged at this point. Like, now, if you get to a point like me where the ideas are eating you alive, now that's a different story. But like, if you having ideas that you just simply haven't acted on, and this is something, because clearly you've been talking about this for ages, like, let it go, put it out into the world. We tired of waiting on it. You keep talking about it. When are we gonna see it? So that's a big thing. It's just start. It don't matter if it's ready or not. Like, just start. I've like done so many, like, you can go back at all my businesses that I've done, and they probably look like shit now, but like, at the time they was cool. Like, at the time they was better, but I just started, and now we here. So I think that's a big thing to think about. Just get out your own head and just do it, and just start. Like, and I think being in rooms like this as well will help you when it's time to just start, because you'll be able to talk to other people that's kind of stuck just like you. And not to say that, like, people that have it together don't get stuck either. Because, like, I have an idea, the Form Fit Forum right now, and Rob just keep telling me, just start. Like, you already doing it. Just do it. Just act in it. And I keep saying, like, well, I got to do this and I got to do that. And now it's been, I'm going to look up and it's 2 years later and I still haven't did it because I'm still trying to wait for it to be perfect or something to be different. Yeah, so just don't overthink your vision or you will end up in the same spot. Just do it. Yeah.
I feel like I can relate to people stealing your ideas, but I kind of agree with a lot of what she said. But also too, in my head, I think nobody can do it better than me.
Yeah.
I think she can. Even I like, even in my head, even if mine was better, she can't do better than me. And then stop telling people your ideas because you like figure it out.
But I don't think that's the case though. Tell people your ideas. Like, so but you have to you having that mentality doesn't shy you away from telling people your ideas, because you know that if they still take it, that they still can't do it better than you. I go and I'm a type of person, if I get comfortable, I share my whole life in 30 minutes. Like it don't matter. Now I am very introverted when it comes to spaces I'm not comfortable in, but when I do get comfortable, I'm going to tell you about all of my plans in the next 30 seconds. So you better write it down with a notepad. Like for real, that's how I am. So but if you have her mentality, you're not going to be shy of telling people your ideas. I met Robert at a panel from telling just people in general, my story. And that's something that I hadn't did. I told y'all, like, I just started telling my story maybe like a year ago. Maybe even not a year ago, maybe like 6 months ago. Like, I just started telling my story on panels and opening up and telling people about who I am and what I do and all these different things. I just started doing that. Like, but I've been succeeding all the way up into that point. But imagine if I never said nothing and I'm telling my ideas on the panel. I'm telling how I think on the panel. So what if I wouldn't have done that and I wouldn't have met him? And this is somebody that has progressed my life already just with knowing him with even a few months. It's like it's blessings in telling your ideas. It's blessings in showing your spirit and your passion. Like it's like I know that I've walked in so many rooms and people just seen my passion. Even with ideas like that I've had, and they might not be all the way together, but they seen me. Like, and that's exactly how y'all see me. Everybody that's here that has been in my presence, what do y'all see most out of me? It's my passion. Like sometimes I don't even be knowing what I be saying to y'all, but it be my passion that speaks before anything out my mouth, makes sense to you and registers. So I think that's what we have to do as entrepreneurs. Don't be scared to tell your ideas. Like, of course you just shouldn't be motoring mouth into everybody, but like, don't be afraid in rooms that are positive like this. If y'all were to tell any of us your ideas right now, do you think it would go super far? Probably not. But you also have to realize, we tell you models all the time, y'all go and get in spaces because y'all are pressed to be around people that y'all end up in negative environments. And that's why your idea got stolen. It's not because people are out to get you. Like, it's because you're in negative spaces. And we tell y'all all the time, the places that you go are the company that you will keep, and the way you start to act and gravitate. Y'all do a lot of things. No shade to y'all models, but like y'all do a lot of things that are not of substance, and then y'all wonder about the outcome that y'all get. And that goes the same with your business. If you sitting in a room full of snakes, why do you not expect to get bit? You gotta pick you have to start thinking with your business mind to understand the rooms that value you, like without feeling like you getting snaked out. Because I don't go in those type of rooms, or if I do, you have to know how to move accordingly. And that's when your business mind will set on. But I think that comes from experience and just doing different things. Now you know. Now I'm telling you. So if you go and get bit again, that's on you. Like, I can't keep telling you multiple times. But now, if you choose spaces that value you and choose spaces that are trying to build with you, you won't have that same outcome. The only reason you have the outcome is because you're not in places that serve you. It's you. Yeah.
Well, first, to talk about we really just had this conversation. Well, remember, we had a conversation. She was like, I feel like I should still be English because it didn't turn out the way I wanted to. And it was, it's way too soon. But interesting. But I think I unknowingly started doing a community. Like I don't think about it. I never thought about it as a community. I just talk to people all the time.
Mhm.
So even with models, designers, like I've had designers like, hey, oh, we should collab, and you like my very first something I did as a designer, a designer, and or models, and I've met models who do other things that I didn't even know that they did, and we stay in contact. I put in like a group chat on Instagram, like just for casting calls, but even in the casting calls, there's so much that goes on, and like people never people communicate and stuff like that. So I think I unknowingly started doing that. That's probably
Mhm.
what.
And I think we build community every day, and we just don't call it community because we're not maximizing off of it. You know, well, we have built community, and especially in the model, like utilize each other as resources. You know, I think that y'all have been like y'all have been in each other's spaces so long. Like, you know, I've had you for what, 2, 3 shows. And you've been around a lot of them for multiple times. And if you're speaking to them, utilize them. You know, if you are in those, like, say for instance with Paris, he's a perfect example. Paris was in my shows. He was in maybe 2 to 3 shows, right? Paris was just a regular model or whatever. But like Paris like started inching his way into like just doing different things, you know, to keeping his face in my face. Like and it wasn't even intentional or whatever. I just started like more, you know, when you think about people that like kind of just popped up in your life super random and like they end up holding a big space in it, but you never even saw them coming. It was like super weird. Like it's like that's what friendships, relationships, business partnerships, etc. You start to think like, dang, where did you even come from? Like, who are you? And that's the same with Paris. So like he was doing shows or whatever, and then I just started seeing him more and more. He's one of the models that like stood out to me, you know. And then we go to New York, and he like, I'm coming to New York, and we like, I mean, I guess sure. Then after we went to New York, we ended up forming a whole different type of relationship. Now he works for the 4 and 5th Fashion Show. You know what I'm saying? And that's just off of capitalizing off of your ecosystem. And things like that happen a lot, like more than you know it. You could walk yourself into opportunities just by simply, you know, utilizing who you already have around you. And I think it's a blessing to be a blessing to others, to spread your wealth. Like, don't think that you're so small that you have nothing to offer nobody.